Welcome to VibeCastStudios. Today we have a special guest. We have the founder of Renewable Now, Crystal Porter. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
How's it going?
It's going well.
And of course we have the CEO of Vibe right here, Dwayne Neighbors, and then Vidal as well.
Man, it's interesting. I feel like after It's Just Water, now we have Minnesota Renewable Now. Basically, we want to hear from you. Explain to us about what is, renewable now. What's the mission? What's the vision? How long you've been here in Minnesota? Are you in any other states? And then we kind of take it from there.
All right, cool. So Renewable Now is actually a newer nonprofit. We've been around for a very long time, but we became an actual nonprofit for the last couple years.
Okay.
The work that we've been doing is basically familiarizing and educating the community, especially underserved communities, about renewable energy and how to get access to renewable energy and figure out what their options are. Renewable energy tends to be something that people feel that they can't get access to, especially if you're in a lower income community.
Right.
Especially BIPOC communities tend to not have the education about what renewable energy is and what the importance is of it.
And for the people who are listening and stuff, when we say renewable energy, are we talking solar panels? Are we saying more than that?
We're talking about anything where you source your energy from renewable sources. I'm talking wind, geothermal, solar, hydrogen. Hydrogen is actually a new hot topic in the U.S., but it's actually been around for a very long time.
Okay.
So just letting people know what their options are and how to access it and how to be a part of the renewable energy movement.
Right.
We're based here in North Minneapolis. North Minneapolis is the lowest area median income in the state of Minnesota. And I feel like if we can make it happen here in this community, we can do it anywhere.
I like that.
If we can have a movement of people that are demanding renewable energy in a community that has the lowest graduation rates, highest dropout rates, and lowest area median income, then it can happen anywhere. So that's just my big passion. And of course, this is my community, so I'm a little biased when it comes that I live here. I raise my kids here. I own property here. I work here.
That's awesome.
And so, of course, I'm going to take care of the community that I live in first and foremost.
Right.
Quick question. So, when it comes to, because I'm not from the north side, but I've lived here a couple years too. With this community, is it affordable? Is it an affordable option to do renewable energy?
Yes. There's all kinds of options. So our one of our first projects that we piloted, and now it has become a program, is the Power North program.
Okay.
And that one was first funded by the Minneapolis Foundation.
Okay.
We had got some funding last year to basically get out into the community and tell people, hey, there's some very simple options that you could take advantage of.
Okay.
One of them is very simple, where you can, all of us in Minneapolis, we get our power from XL Energy.
Got it.
That's where our electric bill is sourced, and so we can tell them, hey, we want our power to come from wind. We want it to be powered off of wind power. That's the easiest and most simplest thing. It doesn't take much. You literally can go online. You could Google XL Energy wind source, and you just fill out a one-page form and say, I want my power to come off of wind power. And what happens when you do something like that is you're telling this monopoly that you're demanding renewable energy for yourself. And so what it does is when the demand goes up, they look at that and they go, okay, well, we need to start building more wind farms. We need to start building more wind turbines. The majority of the wind farms that are operated by XL Energy are leased by other wind farms that are, that are already owned by other entities.
Okay.
So XL Energy, when they see that the demand is going up, then they go, okay, well, we need to start changing how we source our electricity. And no longer can we keep sourcing it from these coal-powered plants. Coal is a very dirty way to source electricity. And how that works is they burn coal, and coal boils water, and that boiling of the water turns the turbines, and the turbines generate electricity. It's very backwards, very old, very dirty, and it's crazy because it's the same thing that wind turbines do in the sky, right? Wind blows, the wind turbine turns, and it generates electricity.
Okay.
Why do we have to burn coal to boil water to turn a turbine to create electricity?
Good point.
So getting that demand to increase, whenever a demand increases, you have to supply that demand. And that's how business works. And so when people are demanding more renewable energy and saying no to coal, then eventually they'll start to build more wind turbines, and then there'll be a less demand on the coal, and hopefully we'll be able to shut these coal plants down in Minnesota.
I did not know that you could actually call XL and tell them where the energy,
Yes.
like what type of, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't know. And a lot of it has to do with the way that they market the information to the community.
Right.
If you are an organization that has been doing it the same way for a very long time, you don't really want to change.
Yeah.
You don't want to have to go out of your way to invest more dollars into something, even though it's the right thing to do, to change the way that you source your energy, because it gets them to have to work harder.
Right.
But the thing is eventually we're going to have to move into that direction, because we're in a situation right now where climate change is real. We know this is real. There's been a lot of people that have been naysayers and said, oh, this isn't a real thing, but that's probably because we've had a flip-flop of leadership in this country. We've had, for 4 years, maybe 8 years if we're lucky, we've got a Democrat running, and then we go to a Republican, then we go to a Democrat, and we've got all these different leaders that are saying, oh, well, it's not really an issue, and then you've got leaders that are going, yes, it is an issue.
Yeah.
So it creates a lot of confusion among the people. But the reality is it is real. It's I have one of my board members, actually, that was supposed to be here tonight. She just came back from Costa Rica, and
Wow.
she was like, Christelle, the issue is real, man. Costa Rica has 2 years before they're gone. They're done. They're flooding. They're done. They're going to be underwater in 2 years. 3 million people are going to have to relocate out of that country because the sea levels are rising, and Costa Rica is going to be gone off the map.
Man, that's crazy to think about.
Yeah, we're in a world where you could go to the Minnesota zoo and you can look at a wall of animals that have become extinct that are never going to come back. You hear about these animals that are never going to come back. They're never going to return. And now we're living in a time where countries are going to become extinct. And this is happening because the temperatures are rising on this planet, because we are emitting more CO2 on this planet than we've ever seen. And it's causing the temperature to rise on this planet. And we've got glaciers, massive glaciers that are size of states, size of Texas, that are breaking off and they're melting into the ocean. And if you see a glass of water and if you put an ice cube in it, when that ice cube melts, the water is going to rise in that glass. And that's basically what's happening. And so
and it's basically how we're sourcing our energy.
It is.
That's kind of a trickle down effect.
Exactly. And so and I don't want to shame people. A lot of people that are probably listening to this might be like, oh man, I feel so bad. I sat in my car and I let my car run for 5 minutes.
Right.
While surfing on Instagram or TikTok today.
Right.
Yes, we should stop idling. We should stop doing these things.
Right.
But the reality is, we also need, and of course we need to stop doing that.
Right.
But we also need to start holding our leaders accountable.
Exactly.
Because they are the ones that have the true power to make a change on a massive scale.
Right.
We make little changes all over the place. I can tell you, and I can tell you to stop littering. I can tell you guys to start recycling. Put your recycling in the recycling bin and put your trash in the trash bin. But the reality is, the producer that is making single-use plastics needs to stop making it.
Exactly.
If it wasn't available,
Getting to the problem.
then the consumer wouldn't be able to purchase it in the first place.
Right.
And so if these monopolies that produce our energy stop producing it off of dirty coal and oil and different fossil fuels, then we wouldn't even have to even worry about it, because we're going to go into the room and turn on the lights. We're going to plug in our phone and charge it.
Right.
Because we need to. We need to have those things available to us. We need to heat our homes, especially in the cold climate that we live in up here in Minnesota.
Definitely.
We need to stay warm.
Definitely.
But the people that are responsible for sourcing this energy, this electricity, they are the ones that are responsible. If they can source it from renewable sources, then we would have an option, and that's really what it's all about.
Can I ask you something? So, to touch on the fossil fuels thing, what do you think about electric cars?
I think electric cars are awesome.
You a Tesla fan?
I am a Tesla fan.
I can tell.
I'm a Tesla fan. I would love to own one day.
It's my dream car.
Maybe one day I'll make enough money to where I can buy a Tesla. Teslas are cool, and they are the one. They are the answer for single passenger vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
All right, or few passenger vehicles. They're very important for us that need to get around in a car with 3 or 4 or 5 people. But the reality is, there's this other demand. We're all ordering, especially with COVID, we're ordering our supplies off of Amazon.
Good point.
Yep, and then, in order to, whenever we go to the store and purchase things, we expect those things to be there. Well, in order for them to get there, there's massive semi trucks that are driving those
trucks.
Has anyone driven on a highway before? There's tons of semi trucks. In order for a semi truck to run off of to be electric and electrified, they would have to have a lithium-ion battery that would be 7,000 pounds. That would take away the amount of money that they would make off the product that is inside that vehicle. So in order to run these larger vehicles that actually are the diesel vehicles that are contributing more to the CO2 level, we would have to convert over to hydrogen. And hydrogen fuel is actually something that...
hydrogen to power cars and vehicles.
Hydrogen is something that would power larger vehicles like our buses and semi-trucks. And hydrogen is really cool, actually. Hydrogen is a part of water. So if I take a little battery and I put it into this water, and I separate the oxygen from the hydrogen in the water and harness that hydrogen is a gas. And once that hydrogen is ignited, it turns back into fresh, clean drinking water. Because that hydrogen, once it goes into the air, it's going to reintroduce to oxygen, and then it's going to reconnect, and it's going to turn into a water vapor. And so it's a way to power our vehicles, our larger vehicles, without having to use fossil fuels. It's pretty cool. And what's really nice about hydrogen is it's it doesn't just move us away from dirty fuel and dirty fossil fuels, but it also cleans up the damage that we've done. Because once that hydrogen is ignited and it reintroduces the oxygen, like I said, it turns back into clean, drinkable water vapor. So it actually cleans the air, and it cleans the water that's in the air. So we're able to reverse the damage that has been done. It's pretty awesome, and I've been talking about hydrogen for many, many, many years. I actually built my first hydrogen generator when I was very young, and you don't really need much.
Time out.
You can't just skip past that. Like it's not a big deal.
Built a hydrogen.
Yeah, it's not
generator.
much. It's not much. It only takes a couple volts of electricity in order to separate hydrogen from oxygen. You could take a little solar panel off of one of those lights that you see in people's front yards, and you drop 2 wires into this bottle of water, and you can separate the hydrogen from the oxygen. It just needs a little bit of electricity, and the hydrogen will start flowing out of it. You won't see it.
Right.
But if you can harness that gas That's power. That's a gas.
Is hydrogen the most abundant thing in the universe?
Yes, it is. It actually is. It's actually the very first element on the element table.
That's
yes,
right. That's crazy.
So one thing I appreciate you being on here because true knowledge is power, and it saddens me that we live in a society right now where we don't get this information until now.
Right.
Yeah.
And the same thing for like business, right? The business principles that I train and teach is not taught.
Yeah.
Right? We don't train and teach how to save the planet.
Yeah.
And we might. I remember one class when we mentioned it, right? Maybe global warming and everything like that. But I don't know. I don't have a elective that was designed to say, "Hey, this is what we need to do."
Yeah.
Right. I think that's a big problem in schools. One of the things I like on your website, I just wanted to read off. It says, "We're not destroying the earth. The earth will be fine. We're destroying the ability for people to continue to live on Earth. Earth will heal itself by purging humankind if humankind cannot learn to cohabitate with the Earth." I mean, I feel like that statement's powerful.
So are we the parasite?
I believe we are. That's something I wholeheartedly believe in. I am a black woman, but I'm also very Native American, Choctaw and Cherokee. And
Dope.
And one thing I've learned growing up is you need to take care of the thing that keeps you alive, and that is the earth. We all need to eat. We all need to water. We all need these things. And in order to keep having these things that we need to survive, we have to take care of it. You know, you hear the term, "Don't bite the hand that feeds you."
Mm-hmm.
Well, humans are doing that every day with every action that they do. You know, and I'm not I do it as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I drove a car to get here, you know.
Right.
We all contribute to this mess that we've created as humankind.
Mm-hmm.
And even though that I'm dependent on all of the things that are contributing to the problem, I'm definitely doing my part to make sure that those things change.
Right.
Today I work with a climate table that is a long list of environmentalists that are working to push the Public Utility Commission to make some changes on a larger scale.
Right.
I met with the city of Minneapolis and the sustainability office today to talk about how we're going to meet the demands for the 8 megawatts of electricity that we're going to get from renewable energy off of the properties in Minneapolis. So I'm doing what I can to do to make the change on a larger scale.
Right.
But the reality is we all need to increase that demand. We all have to increase the demand.
Right.
And the way to do it is just by simple little actions.
Yeah.
Vote with your wallet, not just your ballot. Yes, we should show up and we should vote for people that are going to have a long-term plan and have the future in mind. But we also need to make sure that the things that we're purchasing, the things that we're doing with our money, is going to move us forward in a more sustainable way.
Right.
So it's just it is what it is. The market follows the demand. Period. And if we continue to do things like usual, then we'll continue to get what's usual. But the reality is what's usual has a very bleak future.
I think you're so right about the leadership part of it, like, the entire thing, but the leadership part. Because I remember Elon Musk was on, like, the clean energy panel with Trump.
Yes.
And he was trying for years and years, then he just, like, gave up because he's like, they're not listening to me. I'm sitting around a bunch of oil guys as the electric guy, and they're like, oh, yeah. Elon, that's what's up, so how can, like, from the top down, because you're doing the right thing by talking to those people, how can I personally add to that though?
So like I said, there's a couple things that you can do as a on your own level. As the first thing, you can call Xcel Energy and say, hey, I want my electricity to be sourced from wind.
From wind.
That's the very simple, easy step. There's also community solar projects that are available right now. community solar used to be a thing where you had to get a credit check and you had to put money down, and it's turning into something completely altogether different. Now, there are no credit checks and you don't have to put any money down. And now you can partake into a community solar garden where you can have partial ownership. It's like a co-op. Like if you have a cooperative membership to a co-op grocery store, it's the same thing. If you have a membership to a solar array that's on top of a large warehouse, you and 50 other people might own a portion of that solar panel that's on that roof, and then you each that solar is being sold to Xcel Energy, and then you guys are all splitting the profit off of that. What happens is that credit goes onto your bill, and then you get a certain percentage off your bill, and that, well, like I said, that goes into the grid. And that is more power that's going into the grid that's being sourced from the sun instead of being sourced from coal. So that's another option.
I like that. Co-op farms.
Solar gardens.
Yep. Community solar gardens. U.S. Solar, Greenway Solar. These are community solar gardens that are open right now that you can take advantage of. Okay. You just got to give them a call and you can sign up for that. And
so what would be the amount, like numbers we're saying, like I want to talk affordability, right? For especially being a person on the north side and stuff like that. North side is, a lot of people don't know, there's different parts of north side. Some parts of north side is very well off, and then some parts are not. So when it comes to affordability, what would you say that someone that might be on Section 8 or someone who might need assistance, how can they still be a part other than calling Xcel? What are things that they can afford and say, hey, I'm part of that movement?
What I'd like to say is community solar is energy assistance. So, you apply for energy assistance, you get a certain portion off your bill, and then you only have to pay for a certain amount. Or they pay for the whole amount, depending on what your income is. If you are that person that falls in the in-between, where you don't qualify for energy assistance, but yet you are barely making it, you're barely paying your bills, you don't qualify to go to a food shelf to get free food or get on food assistance. If you're you're in that middle space. Community solar is energy assistance. Because like I said, you are becoming a part owner of a solar array that's on top of a building somewhere in Minneapolis or somewhere in Hennepin County or somewhere in the county that's touching Hennepin County, and you are benefiting off of this solar. So you're going to start seeing your electric bill go down. There was a month this year where I had like $80 off of my electric bill, because I'm a part of a community solar garden. So community solar is energy assistance, period.
That's pretty cool.
So, if you're in the process of trying to get energy assistance and you're on a long waiting list or you don't qualify for it, you need to look into community solar so that you can see what your benefits are, and you're also contributing to a more sustainable future, but you're also getting something in the long run. You're being able to pay a less electricity bill, so that's really cool.
I like that. That's like being an owner in like a different. Well, it's being an owner, but of a different, like something that we think of property, like vehicles, but being an owner of energy, like that's like so out the box. So I understand that you work around like a lot of green zones. What does that mean?
So the green zones, there's 2 green zones.
Okay.
There's a north green zone and there's a south green zone.
Okay.
That's based on a study that was done by the city of Minneapolis, where they looked at different areas and they studied them, and they said, okay, let's look at these areas based on high concentration of poverty, high concentration of minority, high concentration of people that are living within a certain distance away from a highway, or industrial plants that are emitting lots of toxic chemicals into the air. And so that's where they came up with the north and south green zones. So those are people that are being very, like, on a ridiculous level, being affected by all of those different things combined. And so we are in the north green zone in North Minneapolis. And
the entire north side?
Not the entire north side, but a big portion of the north side.
Okay.
And the reason being is because we are close to 94,
right.
Close to 394. We also are close to the HERC, which is the Hennepin County incinerator. And that's where all the trash in Hennepin County gets burned. And then whenever that smoke goes out into the air, we're breathing that in. Right. We're also close to two roof shingles plants, which are, I don't know if you know what roof shingles are made of, but they're made of very, very toxic tar that's petroleum. That if you drive, just for instance, if you drive across Lowry Avenue, across the Lowry Avenue Bridge and you're headed over to Northeast, you're going to smell it. You're going to smell it, and it's going to smell terrible. Just imagine living close to one of those. But to be honest, we're all living close to it because it's in the air and we're breathing it in. And so, and these different things tend to be situated around people of color. If you look at one of these, there's a map that was designed by the city back in the 60s of what I forgot what it's called, but it's basically a racist city planning map for Minneapolis.
Like redlining.
Yeah, and if you look at it, it actually shows how the city planned out how the city should be situated, and you can literally see slums and Negroes and Bohemian area, and so and then if you look at them, they are actually situated along certain areas that are around where all the plants are, where things were created that were emitting toxic things into the air. And then also, if you look on this map, you see that the majority of the black people, if you look, the majority of the black people that are living majority of the black people were living in North Minneapolis, on the west side of the river. If you go along the river, on the west side of the river, there's really no access. There's small portions of the area that have been opened up recently due to the park board. But we have been cut off from the river for a very long time because all along the north side of the river has all been industrial waste. You go to the northeast side, which has been historically racist, they have access to the river. There's properties right along it. You can walk along it. You can enjoy the river. The amount of trash that you see on the east side of the river is nothing compared to what you see on the west side of the river.
You're blowing my mind because this is like, I'm thinking of it as you're saying it, and I know what you're talking about.
I took a course
that's so crazy.
At Hammond, and it talked about how your environment changes behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that environment was toxics in the air or like things like that. And that part of the environment affects behavior.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like it can trigger behavior.
Definitely. And now